Give me this house or we're getting a divorce.
I was suddenly cornered by my husband like that. This is a cherished home filled with memories of my parents. I have no intention of letting it go, of course. However, as if toying with such feelings, he threatens me. What should I do? I was at a loss and reached out to my dad for help. My name is Jessica, and I'm 30 years old. I'm a stay-at-home wife supporting the household day in, day out. My husband Bob and I have been married for almost 2 years now. He has been working tirelessly to support me since I quit my job to get married. But after the death of my father-in-law, my mother-in-law decided to move into our apartment, and our ordinary daily life collapsed in an instant. Surprisingly, I was informed about my mother-in-law's move the day before she was to live with us.
Oh, by the way, Mom's coming over tomorrow.
My husband came home and just blurted out like it was nothing. Coming over to visit?
Not just for a visit, she's moving into this house, so please clean up.
Moving in? Mother-in-law living in this house?
Dad's gone, so it's only natural, right? Otherwise, Mom will be alone back home.
Looking back, I felt something was a bit off about my husband's way of thinking at the time. Usually, a husband would discuss such a thing with his wife first, but in my case, it was decided before I even knew it. As my husband said, my mother-in-law arrived with a huge amount of baggage the following afternoon. "Hello, mother-in-law, it's been a while, please come in." I greeted her, but for some reason, she looked displeased. "Wait, Jessica, aren't you supposed to pick me up from the station?" Well, I didn't know what time you'd arrive." "You're supposed to call me and ask, aren't you? You're so thoughtless." I'm sorry. That's why I can't rely on you." Grumbling to herself, my mother-in-law plopped herself down on the sofa, as if she owned the place. The next day, her snide comments began. It starts right after my husband leaves for work. "Jessica, why are you so laid back doing the dishes? Laundry should be the top priority in the morning?" "I'm sorry, I'll do the laundry as soon as I'm done with this." "I'm telling you, you got the priority wrong. In this house, once you've had breakfast, the first thing to do is laundry." "Even if you say so." "Just keep quiet and do as I say. It's rude for a daughter-in-law to talk back to her mother-in-law. I wonder how you were brought up." I also have my own routine for the day, but why can't she understand that? It's not like I'm refusing to do anything. It seems that my mother-in-law simply doesn't like the way I do things. Even when I do as she says, she finds something to complain about, especially when it's just the two of us during the day. One day, I came up with a secret plan to end living with my mother-in-law. The plan was to move into a house that my father had given me. My parents decided to start living in the countryside when my father took early retirement a few months ago, so they gave me the house they had been living in. Fortunately, we don't live far from the apartment we're currently in, and there was already talk of moving to a house in the near future. To continue living with my mother-in-law, even for a tough old bird like me, was reaching a breaking point. If that was the case, I'd prefer to move out sooner rather than later, just the two of us, my husband and I. With this in mind, I decided to make a proposal to my husband right away. "Bob, do you have a moment? I'd like to discuss something."
A discussion? What's going on?
"You know that house my father gave us? How about we move there?"
"Oh, that house? We did talk about living there eventually, but why so sudden?"
"Well, I'm not getting along so well with your mother."
"What? My mom hasn't mentioned anything like that."
"Anyway, I find it too hard to keep living with your mother, so I'm seriously considering moving."
"I see. Well, it's not far away, and my mom can continue to live in this apartment."
Surprisingly, my husband readily accepted the idea of moving. He spoke with my mother-in-law about this, and within a week, we were ready to move. Honestly, I thought she would put up more of a fuss, but she readily agreed to let us move. Not only that, she saw us off with a huge smile on her face. "Bob, Jessica, see you around." "I'm sorry for moving out so suddenly." "It's fine, you've got your father's house, right? How wonderful."
"Thank you. Please feel free to come and visit us."
"Well, it's not far from here. Make sure to drop by regularly, Jessica." "Yes, I will." After some formalities, we headed to our new home. I was relieved deep down. I no longer have to put up with my mother-in-law's sarcasm. Now we can live freely again. I was ready for opposition, but I'm glad I had the guts to bring it up to Bob. However, that wasn't the end of it. While I felt a weight lift off my shoulders being away from my mother-in-law, my husband started coming home late. Not only was he late, but there were also days when he didn't come home at all. He wasn't working overtime or at a bar, he was visiting his mother.
"My mom needs me,"
my husband would say, but it was happening too often. He'd go eat over there without telling me, or he wouldn't come home for a whole day. Because of this, my daily routine was falling apart. Something had to give. One day, I confronted my husband. "Bob, don't you think you're not coming home too often?"
"Really? But I'm just staying at my mom's place."
That's not the point. At least let me know. I end up wasting food.
You can eat it the next day, Jessica. You're a stay-at-home wife, always at home.
What? You think because I'm a stay-at-home wife, you don't need to contact me?
Well, it's the truth, isn't it? Being a stay-at-home wife means you're just lounging around at home, right?
What?
Besides, I'm more worried about leaving my mom alone. Ada will be back soon, and I need to talk to my mom about that.
Ada is coming back? Ada is my husband's younger sister who is currently living abroad due to her work. I was surprised to hear about Ada's return, but what did he have to discuss with his mom? Ada's coming home, huh? But do we really need to discuss this with mother-in-law? Curious, I asked my husband.
Of course we do. Ada will be moving in with us.
What? Really?
Apparently, Ada lives in a decently large house overseas, and she's whining about wanting a similar one here. That's why I think she will end up living in this house.
What? This sudden turn of events left me utterly blank. My sister-in-law moving into this house? We just got away from mother-in-law and now this? Hold on a second, Bob. This is the house that Dad left me. Why would Ada...
Well, remember our old apartment where we originally lived? Mother-in-law lives there now, and it's too small anyway. The only option for a larger house is this one.
Don't decide all that by yourself. I never planned to live with Ada.
Oh, we're not going to live together. We're giving the house to Ada.
What? What are you saying?
Listen, we're moving back in with mother-in-law. Ada can have this house and live here freely.
Bob's complete disregard for common sense almost made me lose my balance. Despite me repeatedly saying I didn't intend to live together, Bob finally snapped.
Will you knock it off already? We're able to live because of me, so just keep quiet and listen.
Stop joking. This is the house I inherited. Why would Ada...
This house is too good for you to live in, right? Ada has been living overseas for a while now, and I promised her a large house. I can't back out now.
I don't care. I'm not okay with this.
All you do is complain. Forget it. Cool off. I'm going back to mother-in-law's for a while.
With that, Bob slammed the door and left the house. Left alone in the room, tears welled up in my eyes. Why does he decide everything on his own? This is my cherished inherited house, and he's giving it to my sister-in-law? This isn't a joke. Every day, I received messages from Bob asking, "Have you reflected on this yet?" And, "You should come back here too, you know." Each time I had to reply, "I won't back down." Then one day, running out of patience with my stubbornness, Bob called me in a fit of rage. "Jessica, when are you coming over here?" "I've told you many times, I'm not going there and I have no intention of giving this house to Ada."
"Enough. I've already told Ada. She's coming back this week. Don't make a fuss."
"Don't decide things on your own. This is the house I inherited from Dad. It's mine now. Why should I give it up for your family?"
"Who do you think you're talking to? Mother-in-law is angry. Don't piss us off more."
"What about my feelings? Ignored." Bob sounded very frustrated, heaving a big sigh over the phone. Then he dropped a bombshell.
"If you can't listen to me, we're getting a divorce. Get out by tomorrow and leave the house to Ada."
That's when it happened. My love for him chilled instantly. The way he threatened me with divorce was downright disgusting, unforgivable. Ignoring my feelings and threatening me with divorce? Should I let him get away with this? Ignoring my seething rage, my husband arrogantly continued,
"Do you understand? If you don't leave by tomorrow, we're divorcing."
"Are you serious?"
"Of course I am. You don't have a choice. It'd be troublesome for you, a homemaker, if we divorced, wouldn't it? Ha ha."
"I see. I understand."
"Glad you do. Ha ha. So you better move over here quickly too. My mom's all excited to educate you. Ha ha."
And with that, my husband unilaterally ended the call. Afterwards, I explained the situation to my dad and decided to enlist his plan to execute a certain plan. The next day, my husband called sounding as cocky as ever.
"Hey, have you finished packing? Ha ha."
"Yes, of course," I responded calmly. "More importantly, when is Ada coming back?"
"Tomorrow."
"Why are you so obsessed with Ada?" At my question, my husband revealed his true colors.
"Actually, she's been making a killing in stocks and investments."
"I see, so you're trying to get on her good side to get some financial support. That's just like you."
"Think whatever you want. I need you to move out today."
"Don't worry, I've already moved."
"What?"
At my words, my husband seemed genuinely surprised. He probably thought I would obediently follow his orders. His tone became increasingly arrogant.
"Oh, I see. You didn't want to divorce after all. Ha ha. That makes sense. Without any income, you wouldn't be able to live if you divorced. Ha ha."
"That's right. We're still married for now, so I'm even answering your call, but that's going to end soon."
"What?"
"Let's divorce." At my statement, my husband was clearly shaken.
You What are you saying? You're going to move out of that house, right? You're coming over here now, right?
What? Why would I do that? I'd rather die than return to a house with an unreasonable husband and a meddlesome mother-in-law.
What do you mean? You promised to move out of the house.
Yes, and that's exactly what I did, isn't it? I said I've already moved.
Don't joke around. Then where are you?
Starting to panic, my husband's speech began to quicken, a sign he was losing his cool. Timing it right, I decided to share the truth. I'm at my parents' place now.
What?
I moved back to the rural area where my parents live, so I won't be returning to your place.
Oh, I see.
Relief seeped into my husband's voice.
Well, that doesn't matter, as long as I can hand the house over to Ada.
$500,000.
What?
The house that I got from my father, I put it up for sale. So if you really want to give it to Ada, you'll have to buy it for $500,000.
What? You're kidding.
Do I sound like I'm joking? The house is still in my father's name, so I asked him to put it up for sale. In fact, what I had asked my father to do was help with the sale of the house. My father has always said to me, you can live in it or sell it, whatever you fancy. Just let me know when the time comes. The evaluation came back to $500,000, and seizing the opportunity, I promptly put it on the market. He must have never imagined such a situation would arise. My husband stuttered his words, trying to unleash his verbal fury.
You gotta be kidding me. Doing things your own way. I won't allow this.
I don't need your permission. We're getting divorced soon anyway.
What did you just say? Do you understand your own position? You're the one who's going to be in trouble after the divorce without any income.
Struggling alone is way better than staying with you.
Listen, Ada will be back home soon. I told you I was depending on her money.
So what? Like I said, if you want to provide a place for Ada so much, why don't you just buy the house for $500,000? If you can, of course, haha.
What? I can't do such a thing.
Ada's making money from investments, right? She can buy it for $500,000.
No matter how rich Ada is, she can't go that far.
My husband only had excuses, showing no signs of apology, let alone humbling himself. Seeing that any further conversation would be a waste of time, I decided to give him a piece of my mind. I don't have the time to deal with you, foolish mother and son. Did you think threatening me with a divorce would make me obediently hand over the house? If you thought I'd do whatever you say because I'm a housewife, you're greatly mistaken.
Hey, calm down.
I am calm. The one who should be panicking now is you, isn't it? I'm not going to just go along with what you guys say. I absolutely refuse to continue being family with you guys any longer. Stay out of my life forever. Go to hell with your beloved mother, you jerk. I shout out loud enough for the neighbors to hear and hung up the phone. Of course, I immediately blocked his number, cutting off all means of communication with my husband. I then visited a lawyer I knew and requested a divorce mediation with my husband. It took some time, but I was able to divorce him due to his faults. He still seems to be living in the condo with his mother-in-law. About the return of my sister-in-law, they couldn't prepare a big house in the end, and she angrily flew back overseas yelling, "This is not what we agreed on!" The ex-husband's plan to ask for financial assistance from his sister-in-law, who had been making money from investments, ended up failing miserably. Nowadays, it seems they're just scraping by with the alimony to me and the living expenses for his mother-in-law. As long as he continues to live with his demanding mother-in-law, it seems unlikely his life will improve. On the other hand, I've been living peacefully in the countryside with my parents since moving. Just recently, thanks to a recommendation from a neighbor, I was able to get a job as an office worker at a small orchard. I now earn a decent income. For a while, I plan to live here. I'm going to stay as close as possible to my parents in order to repay their kindness.